Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Show Me the Podcast. As always, I'm joined here by my co-host Harry.
Hello.
Hello, Harry. With this episode, somebody came up with the bright idea to do it. So I think that would be Harry.
I think this is a joint effort.
Well, you suggested it and I've spent the week because I wanted to watch the films, so I didn't get through them all.
Yeah.
It's been a very sad week.
It's been a hard week.
It's been an emotional week, Harry. So
I think I've cried every day.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of Why are we doing this to ourselves?
I know. And hopefully we'll make you cry too.
We actually have. The discussion that's come from this topic already prior to recording this, it's just been amazing. Especially like at my workplace. Some really interesting chats have come from, what films make you cry? And
why?
And why? It's actually, out of all the podcasts we've recorded so far, the one topic which really has got people talking. So, yeah, it's good.
Everyone likes a good cry.
Who doesn't?
At a film.
Yeah. I just like crying anyway.
Weirdo.
I'm about all my emotions.
Yeah.
So have we said to this episode is going to be our individual top 5 films that make us cry. This is...
When you said that, all I thought of was Jennifer Saunders in Absolutely Fabulous going to Safi. Boo, sweetie, mummy's crying. Sorry.
It's fine.
Continue.
So Lorraine and I are going to give you a rundown of our individual top 5 films. So that's going to equate to 10. And we're going to chat about a few more other things as well. So these films they're not all sad ones, are they? It's,
So it's a different kind of, like, some films are just sad. I think films that make you cry, they can be for different reasons. Like, there can be the obvious ones, the dog's been killed, or, somebody's died, or, this type of thing. But, they can be for different reasons that film make you cry, as in...
It doesn't have to be a sad reason. It could be a happy reason. You know, crying isn't just, pinpointed on sad occasions. It's,
happy tears.
Yeah, you can have happy tears. So there's a real mix in this, I think. Again, lots of discussion, and following on from that, we've got some really interesting comments that have come through, which we're gonna reveal later.
We will, and sometimes I think there's like nothing more therapeutic than sticking on a sad film, glass of wine, chocolate, have a wee cry.
Get it out.
I know, and whether it's an Affair to Remember or The Dirty Dozen. Maybe some of you know where I've got that from.
I do. I haven't seen either of those films, but I know the films the film that's referenced. Right?
Are you going to tell us, or will we let people tell us?
We'll let people tell us.
Yeah, let us know if you know what I'm talking about. And we can all have that moment where we pretend we've got something in our eye, but really we're just crying at a movie. Boys and girls.
So, Lorraine, before we go on to that section, what have you been watching lately?
Well, I haven't actually watched any films lately. Well, because I've been watching films for this. So I am big into my crime documentaries. So I've been watching... I love crime, I do. So I've been watching Homicide Hunter.
Oh, jeez.
Which is basically about this old cop, Lieutenant Joe Kendra. Well, he's old now. He used to be young, obviously. And basically he's a police officer, I think a lieutenant in Colorado Springs, and he goes around solving homicides.
Yeah.
But it's basically based on his actual cases. And, he's just this guy who apparently there's no script. He just says it how it is. And it's just really exciting watching him solve all these cases. So, and I'm very obsessed with crime related documentaries. I love documentaries. I'm always watching documentaries.
That's good.
So this is one of my...
I want to watch more documentaries. Not necessarily that, but...
No, I watch documentaries every week.
Yeah.
I live on documentaries.
Yeah, I take my hat off to you for that. I really need to get more into my factual stuff. And
well, even like if you started off on like Planet Earth or something, like, do you know what I mean? If you watch that kind of stuff, like they're good,
Yeah.
But like Louis Theroux, he does really good documentaries. But yeah, no, I love documentaries. Love them.
Okay.
And what would be perfect job for me is, because I'm doing a master's in criminology, criminal psychology, and I love crime and I love documentaries. I should actually be working on the Crime Channel, making documentaries.
Shout out, if you're listening.
Yeah, give me a jump. What about you? What's your first thing?
I forgot to mention it in the first podcast back in the new year, episode 4, but I watched a film on the plane called Ingrid Goes West.
Oh.
And it's a comedy, a dark comedy, I'd say.
Where were you going on a plane to? You never mentioned.
Vale. Anyway, it's about this girl who has some issues, and she becomes obsessed with a woman over Instagram, and she uses her inheritance, because her mom's recently died, which is quite sad, to move to LA as she becomes obsessed with this other woman called Taylor, played by Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah, and Taylor, this girl she becomes obsessed with is an Instagrammer. She's a phonographer, and she's living a life that everybody wants to lead. It's just really interesting kind of take on that kind of culture. So one to watch.
So the other documentary I've been watching, it had quite a lot of episodes in it. It was the Leah Remini documentary on Scientology.
Oh yeah.
She basically was a Scientologist for years, and she left. She's like exposing the truth about this religion cult, however you choose to see it. And it's basically, for any of you who don't know Scientology, it's basically this religion cult that was created by L. Ron Hubbard and is now run by a guy called David Miscavige. If what she's saying is true, which not that many people could be lying, there's so many people come out with stories, then this religion cult is a freaking disgrace. And unlike other cults, this one is more money based, whereas if you look at a lot of the other kind of cults that are out there, they're more sex based, like they're more sexual. But this one is just like, it's insane, and it's such a money making machine. And apparently, I think even David Miscavige, who's done it now, I think even his parents are like going, "You're a fucking nut job," and they introduced him to it. Like, really? I mean, it's insane. Yeah. And I was listening to a podcast called The Last Podcast on the Left, and it's so good. And they actually, because there's so much to talk about with Scientology, that they actually did 4 parts of it.
Wow.
And it's so interesting. These guys are hilarious. Like, they're really funny in the way they do it and everything. But they gave out so much. If you ever want a breakdown of Scientology, then go and listen to their 4-parter.
I might do that, actually.
Yeah. No, yeah. I find Scientology fascinating, but not for the reasons that they wish I found it fascinating. Yeah. But we haven't got that kind of time. So, Harry, what have you been watching? Sorry to all the Scientologists that may be listening.
I binged watched something on BBC iPlayer. It was recommended to me by CJ Pod, who was our live audience last week.
Was it Requiem?
Yes. Yeah, and my dad also recommended this, but it's a 6-part drama. It's like a psychological supernatural thing.
Oh.
And I really enjoyed it. It's spooky, dark. The acting in it is pretty stellar, I'd say, from everybody. There are a few loose ends, but I think they're doing that for a second season.
Are they making a second season?
Just a bit of a spoiler, but I don't think that spoils too much.
Okay.
So yeah, I recommend that. It's a good one. So that's that.
Good. So I think now we should maybe read some of what our listeners have sent in about what makes them weep.
We sure can. Because it's a lot,
We've had quite a few. Do you want to start off? Yeah.
Okay. So, Steve's actually been...
he was a guest on episode 2. We went to uni with Steve.
I
don't know why we're calling him Steve. Sorry, Steve.
Anyways, Steve has said that the film that makes him cry is Monsters Call. This came out in 2016. It's a film by AJ Bayona, and it's a drama fantasy film. And Steve says he didn't expect to cry at this film, as he thought he had the film sussed and knew what was going to happen. However, this was not the case, as the ending was so well done and the final realisation was so poignant that it completely broke him.
Aww. I've never seen Steve cry.
No.
He went deep. We've got one here from Lucy, and she says the films that gets her crying are the 2016 drama romance film Me Before You, which was directed by Thea Sharrock and stars the mother of dragons herself, Emilia Clarke.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I think that's one I would like to see, because I do like Emilia Clarke. And Lucy also throws in one that probably makes most people cry, Marley and Me. If you don't cry at Marley and Me, then go to the doctors. Your heart must be missing.
I think if you don't have pets, you don't really understand Marley and Me, maybe. Or if you never had a pet.
Yeah.
Venetia's written in saying that her film choice is Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge, which we discussed last week. We didn't want to spoil Moulin Rouge last week, but I think with this comment we're going to have to. It's a pretty sad film towards the end, guys.
It is.
Venetia tells us this is her a perfect romance. The music is so powerful and evocative, and the way the characters are made up of such extremes, she thinks it really builds emotion into their stories. A tortured romance that's passionate on all fronts. Excitement, death, romance. It never ceases to amaze her.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that was a podcast favourite for us.
Yeah.
We discussed it in episode 4.
Fantastic film.
Yeah. The next one is Emmett. Emmett happens to me and my brother. But so I managed to get him to dig deep inside and bring out the film that made him cry. And it was a 2016 Jack Snyder's Superman versus Batman. He's obsessed with Superman, by the way. But he says what made him so sad was the death of Superman at the end. Or was it?
Was it not that it was just really shit?
You're shit. God, you've got it in. You're like a bully when it comes to anything with Batman to do with Ben Affleck.
Not fucking Good Will Hunting's amazing.
Yeah,
Excuse my
whatever.
French.
I said Batman.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck, Batman.
Okay.
Just read the next one, Harry.
Okay, this one's from Phyllis. Phyllis says that the film that gets her is a 2006 film by Frank Marshall, and it stars the late Paul Walker, and it's called 8 Below.
Oh, that is a sad film.
Is it?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, I've not seen it.
Dogs.
Okay. Phyllis is an animal lover, and her love for this film is because of a true resilience of the husky dog and its faithfulness. She couldn't watch this film a second time as it absolutely broke her heart. That's I don't know if I can do that to myself. No.
Yeah, no, you would.
Okay.
Our next film is from Andy. He says the 1946 film by Frank Capra. Starring James Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life. Andy says his film makes him sob pretty much from start to finish, but begins with Mary whispering George Bailey, I'll love you to the day I die. Then kills me further when Mr. Gower hits George's sore ear.
That is a sad bit. Okay, so
This is the last one.
This is our last one. I think we've got a few of the mentions that we've discussed, but these are the actual comments that have been sent in.
Yeah.
So Tara writes, we've got a film made in 1999 by Brad Bird, The Iron Giant. And Tara says, when he faces certain death as he's flying into space to save everyone, he reaches one arm out in front of him and says with a smile on his face, Superman, I wept. I've not seen that, have you?
No.
No, maybe you want to watch them.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're getting to it. We're getting to the main section. These are fake tears, but wait till you hear it, because the real ones are coming, I reckon. God. I don't know. I feel quite strong right now. How about you?
Yeah, but I was thinking about my first film in the car today, driving, and I nearly started crying thinking about it, so I need
Dude, on the way to work, I was thinking about one of my choices, and I was sobbing before I got to work.
God.
We're going to be fine.
We can do it.
We can do it.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you look like you're tearing up already.
I'm not tearing up. Okay, let's get to this. So yeah, there's certain films that make me cry, and I was thinking of them when we decided to do this, and you know, some of them I just couldn't do because there's some films that are just like, you know, like things like The Pursuit of Happiness, The Colour Purple. They're really good films, but they take you deep into the ugly cry. Do you know what I mean? And so I didn't do them. And like I said, when we do these podcasts, we like to, you know, sometimes watch the films if we know they're not fresh in our mind.
Yes.
And I knew I couldn't handle watching them again. But as I picked the films I picked, I realised I really couldn't handle watching them again either. So I kind of, you know, but there's certain scenes in films like The Pursuit of Happiness and The Colour Purple that I just couldn't
deal with.
No, I couldn't deal with.
No.
So I've picked other films that make me want to weep.
Can I tell you how I've picked mine?
Okay.
Before we get into it.
Yeah.
So, oh God, I there's like a list of 100 that make me cry. I'm not going to lie.
I said that to you, didn't I? I said we could easily do a top 100.
Yeah, but the way and it's been really hard. This is the hardest one we've done for choices. But the way I've chosen is films that make me cry multiple times.
Yeah.
And not just like in a big finale or a big section.
Yeah.
So that's how I've picked.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. They do honestly.
And I don't mean multiple times of watching. I mean in multiple stages throughout the film.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
And every time you watch them as well.
Yeah.
Right. So my first film is a 2009 film that stars Richard Gere, and it's based on a true story, and it's called Hachi, A Dog's Tale.
Oh. okay. I've heard of this. I've not watched it.
So basically, this is based on a story from back in 1925 in Japan, where a professor, who Richard Gere plays, adopts the dog and brings him home. This film was directed by Lasse Hallström. I can't pronounce that properly. Who did films such as Chocolate, The Cider House Rules, and What's Eating Gilbert Grape. So basically, this film is the relationship between the dog and Hachi and Richard Gere, and it's like how all animals should be treated. I'm an extreme animal lover, but this, if you have a pet, this is how you should treat your pet. I mean, this is how you should treat all animals, with such kindness. That's all I have to say about that. But basically, so the dog goes to, every time Richard Gere comes home off the train, the dog is there waiting.
Aww.
So he waits for him every day. And then one day, what's his name in it? Parker doesn't come home because he dies. So
Richard
the
Gere.
owner, Richard Gere, dies, yeah. So this professor in real life had died.
Oh, man.
So people are trying to explain to the dog, look, he's dead, he's not coming back, but the dog's not having it. So I think at one point because I could only watch snippets of this film, I couldn't watch it all. So basically the dog's taken somewhere and it escapes and it goes back to the train station. So the whole story is basically about this dog who sits for 10 years
No.
and waits
10 years?
every day in the same spot
Oh, that is sad.
for its master, Parker, the Japanese guy back in 1925, to come home. The true story goes that, people feed the dog, they look after the dog, and then 10 years later, the dog just passes away. And it becomes like this big story, and, everyone knows about it. And it's just like, this symbol of loyalty and devotion. And I think if you don't tear up at this film, you're some sort of bloody sociopath or something. There's something wrong with you. But it's just a really nice film about, I suppose as well, we've all, we have pets that die, so there's the grief, and I don't know.
But it's from a dog's point of view, not the owner's point of view.
Yeah, because he, 10 years of waiting for someone is a long time. And I didn't know this. I found this out today. The dog was actually stuffed and is in a museum in Tokyo.
Oh,
yeah. So I didn't know, which is a bit weird. But it's just a really nice story. And, if all dogs were treated like this, there'd be no, or all animals, there'd be no cruelty in the world with animals. But
so who looked after him after?
Everyone.
Okay.
He wouldn't stay, you see, because obviously Richard Gere's family tried to, take him and look up, but he wouldn't. He just waited every single day. And there's actually a bronze statue in his place at the train station. Yeah, but every day he waited, and that's loyalty. And that's why when people say that animals don't feel, that's some fucking bullshit right there. Yeah. Sorry for swearing, but that's some bullshit right there, because animals do. And this film and this true story clearly demonstrates that.
You got through it, Lorraine.
I know, but I would watch it. But if you don't cry, maybe there might be something wrong with you. Sorry, Dev, because he wouldn't cry at that.
I don't think my partner would either.
I know, it's so weird. How can you not cry at dogs? So what's your first one?
Well, my first one, you actually ended the podcast with last week. They'll do, pig. They'll do.
Oh, babe.
Babe. Man. Oh. Directed by Chris Noonan, 1995. It's a real-life adaptation of Dick King Smith's novel The Sheep Pig. And apparently George Miller had, he was the mind behind creating it, the man behind Mad Max.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Every time someone says Babe, the film Babe, I always get the urge to sing that song when they go, Blue moon, you were standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own.
The mice are one of the best things about this film. I love them.
And you're meant to be crying, not laughing.
Sorry, well, it's just a great film. It's it makes you.
That is a good film.
Gives you all the feels.
I love James Cromwell, isn't it? That's in that.
Yeah, an interesting fact. He made this film and afterwards became a strict vegan.
Vegan, did he?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure a lot of you are aware, but this is a film about a cute little pig that is affectionately named Babe. He is taken in by... Well,
Now I'm thinking of Baramu.
yeah.
Sorry, I keep interrupting.
That's okay. I mean, that just proves that it's a good film because you
Yeah, it's
remember all the the bits from it.
Funny bits, yeah.
So yeah, he's a pig that's picked up at a livestock event by Farmer Hoggett, who's a surly sort of old farmer. He's sort of adopted by the sheep dogs, Rex and Fly. And over time, with his politeness, his fight against adversity and overall lovable charm, he just wins everyone over. And it's just such a lovely little film.
No, it is a nice film.
So nice. There's various stages in this film that just make me tear up. And one of them is just his politeness and his niceness. And he's just... And you could say it's his naivety. And there's just those horrible moments in it when that's slightly crushed. But then there's some amazing moments in it. Like... the music, as I said, even the mice make me tear up.
Mice are amazing.
The mice are amazing. But there's two really potent moments in this film that get me crying without fail. And that's the one where Babe is ill after going off in the rain, all upset. And the farmer's nursing him back to health. And the farmer starts singing If I Had Words to him. And it gets really into it. And the pig starts to feel better. And it's just so lovely. And he really reminds me of my granddad, the farmer. I think that's probably why. And then the scene at the end when nobody seems to have faith in either of them, apart from some of the sheep and Fly. And then eventually Rex, the sheepdog. And I hate people, nice people being laughed at in films.
Yeah.
And they're like,
definitely.
all the crowd are jeering and mocking Babe and the farmer Hoggett. And then they do it. And there's a quote at the end of the film, and he says, and although every single human in the stands or in the commentary boxes was at a complete loss for words, the man who in his life uttered fewer words than any of them knew exactly what to say. And you said it last week. That'll do, pig. That'll do. And I'm a mess.
That's a good choice.
Thanks.
Good choice. Right, so my next film is a film from 1999, directed by Walking Dead creator Frank Darabont. Yeah.
I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
Green Mile.
Yes.
Because that's my choice.
Have you got that as well?
I have.
Oh,
Dude, good choice. And again, 1999. We said this in the last episode. Good year for film.
It was a good year for film. Yes. No. Yeah, well, so The Green Mile, it's got a really kind of big cast. You've got Tom Hanks, the late Michael... is it Michael Clark Duncan or Michael Duncan Clark? Michael Duncan Clark. David Morris, Bonnie Hunt, James Cromwell from Babe.
Yep.
Michael Jeter, Sam Rockwell. It takes place on death row. Yeah. And they get this huge character in it called John Coffey. Like, what is it he says? Like the drink, only not spelt the same. Spelled the same. Yeah, so he gets him in. Basically, he's being charged with murdering those two girls. There are going to be spoilers. He didn't do it. But for me, it's basically a story of the compassion that these guards have towards him. And not only him, like the Michael Jeter's character in it, you know, he did do some stuff, but to him as well. And it just shows how, for me, how these people, these guards,
it's a tough situation,
even in that, that kind of situation, can be that kind. I mean, there's one that isn't, but you know, the ones who are, you know, because we always think to ourselves, we kind of take on that mob mentality. You've done this, so you know, let's slaughter them. But for me, it's a lot of it. The main thing is just the relationship that John Coffey has, and he's just so,
he plays it well.
Oh my God, he's so nice.
Gentle giant.
He is a gentle giant, and he just, you know, he's this such a big guy, but yet, this is what gets me. I'm just going to read this one thing he says. Basically, he's given the opportunity to leave because they believe that he didn't do it. So he's given this opportunity to leave, and he doesn't do it. And he says, and they're like, basically, why don't you want to do it and stuff like that? He goes, because I want it over and done. I do. I'm tired, boss. Tired of being on the road, lonely as a sparrow in the rain. Tired of not ever having me a buddy to be with, or tell me where we's coming from or going to or why. Mostly I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. I'm tired of all the pain I feel in here in the world every day. There's too much of it. It's like pieces of glass in my head all the time. And basically he's had enough. And I think sometimes it's not like I want to be, stuck on an electric chair or anything. But I think,
You have those days.
You have those days where you're just like, why are you such a fucking dick?
Yeah.
Like, every day out on the street, people beeping at you, people getting mad at you because you've taken a second longer than you should to cross a road, or you don't drive the way they want you to. I mean, I get mad at it sometimes as well, but every time you turn on the news, and it's just like, sometimes I'm just like,
It's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
Piss off. Yeah, it's a lot. And, I do have those days where I think like that.
Yeah.
Of all the ugliness, and it does get me down. And I think sometimes even my partner's like,
that's when you stick on Jeremiah Johnson.
Yeah, that's when you stick on Glee. Do you know what I mean? But he's just such a lovely character. And the irony is, he's being killed for something he didn't do, yet he's this person that has this gift that can cure illnesses and save lives, yet he's being killed.
And he wants to go because the people, because society's making it that way. And he's not a nice character, but Sam Rockwell plays that guy so well. He's horrid. He's like,
no, he deserves to be freaking stuck in the chair.
Oh no, he does. But doesn't Sam Rockwell play him?
God, yeah.
So he's a good actor. That guy, really good. Yeah, I don't know if you were going to mention it, but the scene in the electric chair at the end.
What, with John Coffey? Yeah.
And like Tom Hanks is crying.
There's one guard in it though. He's just like absolutely the young guy.
Jackson. Oh, he's Jackson, Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. He's the young guy. But it's just when they go to put the thing over his face, and he's like, "Please, boss, don't put that thing over my face. Don't put me in the dark." Is afraid of the dark, and that, because like I said, that guy's like 6'5" and he's built, massive guy, and he's like. But then again, I think because you hear like the mother, which understandably she thinks this guy's done this to her little girls, so I can understand her being like, I hope you feel pain and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I love that, the last thing that he sees is these guards who actually care for him. So he goes out with kindness and love and caring and stuff like that. So I think
that's a good choice.
Yeah.
You bitch stole one of mine.
Move on to the next one.
Oh, thanks.
Unless you have something more to say about the Green Mile.
No.
That was a sad one, yeah.
It is a sad one. Okay, so
compose ourselves.
I think we're doing all right, actually. I'm surprised none of us have actually shed a tear yet.
I nearly did there. That was a close one.
I did on Babe. I mean, jeez. So my second film is actually also one with Tom Hanks in, from 1998, so the year before, and that is Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg.
Do you know what? I wasn't overly fond of that film.
Get out right now.
I'm not a big fan of war-esque films. I like a couple, but very few.
Yes, I am of the same nature, but this film...
I'll disagree with you there on that one, Marie.
Because I was quite young when it came out, and then I was too young. I think I was too young to see it at the cinema. The first time I recall seeing it anyway was when my dad bought the DVD, and at the time he had bought a surround sound system, which he was so impressed with.
I remember when my family got that as well.
Yeah, and he put on Saving Private Ryan, and those first 27 minutes on the landing. Me.
I think that was filmed in Ireland, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was. I may be wrong.
But that was the first time war became a reality to me. And I mean, I was only young, but I was just like, did this actually happen? Like, does this actually happen to people? And it just made me so sad. I mean, it's so well shot as well. It was a attack on the senses, and the surround sound didn't help. It was very good, but
I can really hear you dying now.
Yeah, what the noise is, and you're like, I mean, I'm just hearing it in my living room. Imagine like being there. Do you know what I mean? And seeing all that, it was a very powerful moment, and I remember it to this day. And it's still seeing that scene just makes me, sad.
Is it a proper weeper? Like, 'cause I don't remember crying at that film.
Yeah, if I were to watch it on my own, I'd weep because I'd allow myself to. But when I'm with people, I just kind of...
I hate it when I do that, but I do it all the time where I hold back on the crying. I'm literally like going...
Yeah. But I mean, I was thinking this is the film that I was driving to work thinking about, and there's I'll talk about scenes again because there's multiple scenes. But if you don't know, I'll give you a quick synopsis. This film is an American war movie. It's set during the invasion of Normandy, shortly during the Second World War, shortly after the D-Day events. And Captain Miller, who's played by Tom Hanks, is tasked to put a squad together to go and get Private Ryan, played by Matt Damon.
Is it because all his siblings have died or something?
Yeah, all his siblings, his 4 brothers, including... So there were 4 brothers, they're all servicemen, 3 of them have died, and he's the last one, and the government are like... His parents deserve to have him back, kind of thing. So, this squad are put together, and they go on this journey to get him back, and it's heavy. It's really sort of a gritty film.
I can't remember how that ends. Did they get him?
They get him.
Is he dead?
No, but a lot of them die.
Did the ones going to get him die?
Some, fair few of them.
Maybe I should watch it again.
It's intense. And I'd say about halfway through, there's this one scene with a medic, and he's just this gentle guy, but he knows his shit. That's why he's there. That a lot of them are there, and they don't know why, but he's there to help them try and survive. And he's Wade, and he's played by Giovanni Ribisi.
Oh, I like him.
He's so gentle in this film, and then he gets shot to shit, and he's spilling blood everywhere, and they're just like pulling over him, like going, "What can we do?" And they're pouring salt into the wounds and stuff, and he's Giovanni Ribisi, man. Have you seen him? He's just such cute and such a good actor.
Frank Jr.
And Friends, and they're telling him where his wounds are because he's trying to help himself out, and then Tom Hanks goes, "What can we do?" And he's just like, "Oh, some morphine would help." And they know what that means, and that means he's like, "Just kill me, just make it easier." And they're all like looking at each other like, "Okay, we've got to do this," and they do it, and it's really sad.
Harry's welling up.
I am welling up. Apart from the landing scene, which gets me every time as well. First, like in half an hour or whatever. There's one scene but last before the end, and Tom Hanks and Matt Damon are just hanging out in this, war-torn village waiting. I can't remember the exact specifics of the scene, but they're just sat around in the sunshine in this dilapidated, bombed town, and talking about why they've gone to get Ryan. And Ryan goes, "I can't remember my brother's faces." And Tom Hanks goes, "Don't try and remember their faces. Try and remember a moment, something specific about like what you've done together." And so Matt Damon does this speech, and it's a real lad speech, but he put so much emotion into it. And apparently he did that on the fly. It was like improv moment, but they all went with it. And it's just such a nice moment, and just the way he delivers it, it's just so emotive. And then he goes, "That's the last time we're all together." And you're like, it's And then Tom Hanks, he's like, "Tell me about your memories about your wife and the rose bushes." And Tom Hanks goes, "No, those memories are just for me." And it's the way he says it, man. It slays me every time. Both of them in that scene are phenomenal.
I love Tom Hanks.
Yeah, he's just so versatile.
Yeah.
I mean, you really think of him for all his comedy stuff, but in that film, he is no messing. But
I remember, because I used to see Tom Hanks, in things like Big and stuff like that, and then I seen him in Philadelphia, and I was like, I haven't
seen that. I've seen clips, but I need to watch it.
That is definitely that was one I thought about, but I was like, no, I can't watch that. No, he is outstanding in that film, and really? I think that's when people, I may be wrong, but for me anyway, I went, fuck, Tom Hanks, man.
Yeah.
He's not just a love interest or a comedy guy. That guy is amazing. And I suppose as the years gone on, we've seen him in a lot of different amazing films. He can do it all.
He really
I think the only thing Tom Hanks hasn't done is horror.
Well, the Burbs is a kind of a horror.
But yeah, no. Everyone loves Tom Hanks.
Surely do.
Surely do. Right, my next film, I've gone for a romance film here. But it's not your typical girl gets gal, guy gets gal. Sorry, girl gets gal, guy gets gal. At the end. Yeah, but this isn't one of them. It's a 1995 film. It's directed by Clint Eastwood. Stars Clint Eastwood.
I know.
And Meryl Streep. And it's The Bridges of Madison County.
Good choice.
There will be spoilers. because I need to give spoilers to get it across. But I think for me, this is the type of film that I can see, especially because I think it's in the 50s, this film set. I can't quite remember.
It's a split, isn't it? It's like
90s and current,
60s, I think.
Is it 60s? Yeah. And I think this is a film, a time when women were at home cooking, cleaning, and that was basically raising their kids, being a wife. That was their life. You know, they didn't really work or, you know, kind of have the social lives that we would have now. And you know, so I like this film because I think it kind of represents that. It's not just your kind of like, you know, hot guy, hot girl gets together, you know, a bit awkward and things go wrong, but then they magically get together and everything's great, like, you know, that type of thing. But first I want to talk about the cinematography in this film by a guy called Jack N. Green. Is absolutely, it's just amazing. It's so beautiful. It's one of those places where you're just like, I want to go there. I don't want to live there, but I want to go and visit. And it's just a beautiful location. It's set in Iowa, and there's the shots of Clint Eastwood and Streep are just absolutely sublime. And I think in this film that Meryl Streep looks stunning. I think she's so beautiful in this film.
She's beautiful anyway.
She is beautiful, but I think in this film she's just so natural. I don't feel like, I feel like she's not glamorized.
No,
I don't feel like they. I feel that's how she looks.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh, natural.
Yeah, and she's just absolutely stunning. And you know, you've got then the handsome Clint Eastwood, and you know, and the film hasn't got a lot of characters in it. You know, sometimes you get these films where there's like, it's very, you know, because the film's mainly just them two with a few bits in between.
Sorry.
And it's hard to carry sometimes, but they carry it.
Yeah.
You know. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I like her kids in it, because I think they...
Yeah,
and like her son's like, I can't even quite remember the quote, but he like makes out that it's, his mum. Like, and she's just like, his older sister's like, get a grip. Well,
she's in the same situation. She's in a relationship that, you know, she doesn't really want to be in. Clint Eastwood is a photographer. He works for, I think it's National Geographic, and she's a housewife. She's from Italy. And
sorry to interrupt. That's another thing. Meryl Streep does accents so well.
She does this, yeah. Because when she was doing it, I was like, "Wow, that's really good."
She's out of Africa. She's amazing, and
Iron Lady. So basically, he's going to do a shoot on these historical bridges in the area, and her family, her kids, and her husband have gone away for 4 days, and he basically turns up at her house.
It is 4 days.
Yeah, they go away 4 days. Yeah, exactly. What can happen in 4 days? He turns up at her house, and you know, he doesn't really know where she's going, and then she offers to show him, and that's how they start to become friends. Now we find out this story because basically Meryl Streep has died. You know, Clint Eastwood's died, the father's died, and all that kind of stuff, and the kids find these letters, basically describing what is going on. And the letter begins to explain what happens, and basically she says this one thing, and she goes, how as you get older, things that are important change, how a woman is to be known. And basically Francesca is very discontent with her life. She cooks, she cleans, all this kind of stuff. And I think women back then, you never really knew them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because they never allowed themselves. Yeah, and they would never express it, you know. So basically, you know, she's met Clint Eastwood, and she's showing him around to these bridges and stuff they want to go, and they start meeting, and it starts off as friends, but you can tell that there's this, you know, she's kind of like fascinated with him because he's, you know, a bit of a nomad. He goes around, lives a life. He doesn't know where he's going to be, and she just can't grasp this. You know, why aren't you married and kids and all this kind of stuff? And so they basically start this affair, and it does turn sexual, but it's not seedy.
No, it's romantic.
You know, it's very, very romantic. And I think, you know, yeah, she's cheating on her husband basically, but I know that's not right, and I would never say that is right, but there's just something not wrong about this. I know that sounds really, really bizarre, but it's just a really nice story about a woman who, you know, had dreams, you know, and she moved to America with this guy, and they never happened. Like, even at the end of the film, the husband, before he's dying, says, look, I know you had dreams, and I'm sorry that you never got to you know, to live them. But, you know, that brings me on to the next point. She has these 4 days with him and she's fallen madly in love. He's fallen madly in love. And, you know, he wants her to go with him and she doesn't.
Oh, that bit where she's got her hand on the handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the rain, and he's
God.
in the car in front, and he's indicating.
He's so basically he's like, I'm here for another couple of days, so you know you've got time to change your mind. And the husband has come back at this stage, and the kids, and you know, they just go back to normal. You know, they're in the kitchen having dinner, and she's washing up and all this kind of stuff. And good.
It's a film about sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say that. So she doesn't go because like she's like my daughter's 16, so. You know, I don't want her. She's coming into the stage now where she's going to meet people and fall in love and all this kind of stuff. And I don't want her being, you know, seeing what I've done and thinking, is that what it is? So she just goes back to it. And like you said, you know, there's this one scene where she's in her car and it's pissing down with rain and he's standing on the street and he's just looking at her and she's looking at him and she kind of gives him just the smallest smile and he gives her the smallest smile back. And then the husband gets in the car and she starts like, she's crying and he's like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And she's like, just give me a minute. And like you said, they can stop at the traffic lights and she's got her handle on the door and he indicates and then eventually he just pulls off and he's gone.
That's it.
And that's it. And then like, you know, when the husband dies, she tries to find him, but she never does. And it turns out he's died as well. And it's just...
Meryl Streep loves a good tearjerk film, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's a really heartbreaking film. And at the end, this is one film, like I try and do it a lot, but I don't always do it because I just don't think sometimes. But at the end, I like to sometimes watch a film to the end credits. And because I think you kind of deserve that. You remember in Dawson's Creek, Dawson used to say, you know, that it's basically respectful or something that you should watch it to the end, like, which is true. All these people put this work in. But there's a lovely score at the end of it. And the whole thing is just like the credits rolling, but it's kind of just going like aerial shots, you know, from
of
view of the thing. And then it just homes in, you know, shot on the bridge as the last few credits roll up. And it's just a lovely film. And I think a lot of women could probably look at this and relate.
I think not just women, men
as well, yeah. Men.
But yeah, it is about that.
Yeah.
That you get to a certain situation in life and you do have to sort of, possibly some of people might have to make that decision not to jeopardize certain structures, you know.
Well, she says if she'd went, it, you know, it'd be different. It's like the thing, like you have an affair with someone and then you think it's going to be like that, but it's not. You know, you get into normal life.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe it would have been an amazing thing and, you know, she'll never know, but it's just a really sad thing. But like I said, that scene at the end where she's looking and she, you know, you see him drive off and you just see the side of his arm from his truck.
You don't get to see his reaction.
You don't see his reaction.
Very clever.
Yeah. And like, I think what Eastwood does with this film is it's a very slow burner. Like, it's not just like, oh, hey, yeah, you're hot first night, bang, let's get into bed. It's a very slow burner. So you see this amazing,
it's all kind of
relationship.
Yeah, it's her POV, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like you say, you don't see him because her last shot of him was on that street, and that's it. You're done. You're feeling her get drenched because he's.
You're crying with her.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sad. Yeah.
It's a sad
one. Okay. Well, my last. Oh no, it's not. It's not my last. What am I on about? My next one is it's an animated film, cartoon actually, The Fox and the Hound, made in 1981 by Disney.
81. Wow.
I know. I'd say this is one of my favourite Disney films.
My favourite Disney film is always, everyone goes, really? When I see my Pinocchio.
Really?
Yes. Pinocchio or Dumbo.
Pinocchio is dark, man. But hey,
who are you talking to?
Yeah, this is true. To be fair, so is this.
They all are.
Yeah.
I think that's the good thing sometimes about Disney films. It's like when you watch like a Pixar film or something. Now you see things that a kid wouldn't see.
Yes.
Like you wouldn't have noticed a lot of the stuff when you were a kid.
Yeah, this is very true.
You know, to you it's just, oh, look at the animals.
Wow. When Mufasa dies, everyone feels that. Okay. The Fox and the Hound. So this is about a little fox who is adopted by a lonesome old woman into a farmhouse, and he's called Todd. And then he befriends the grouchy next door neighbour's new puppy called Copper. It's sort of goes against nature for them to be friends, because Copper is a hunting dog, and, you know, Todd's a fox. Yeah. And it's about how really the pair become friends, but they should be natural enemies, and are told that they shouldn't be friends by everyone around them to a degree. And
People.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, you got Big Mama or whatever her name is, the big owl saying, "When you're the best of friends." Oh my God, that makes me cry. And nature gets in the way, and the mom figure, the lonesome woman, she decides that he's got to be safe. If he's only safe if he's in his natural habitat. So she takes him on a really emotional 4-minute car ride to the forest and just leaves him there. And he's just like, no, what are you doing? And she's just like, no, you got to stay here. And it's horrible, because she's like, he's her child. And she's abandoning him technically, and it's just horrible. It's a really sad moment. And he spends like a really cold night and like scared night in the forest, but then he eventually, you know, sorts himself out, so it's all good. But sorts himself out. I just think it's a really interesting take for Hollywood, not Hollywood, Disney. It's not your sort of typical, they were friends and they lived happily ever after and they had all these adventures together.
That's what makes it sad.
It's really sad, because that end, have you seen this film? Yeah, that end when, you know, they're trying to kill him, basically, the grouchy next door neighbour and his 2 dogs, including Copper, a grown up Copper. And they're trying to kill the fox, and eventually this dog, who's like Copper's big brother, kind of paternal figure, gets knocked down, and because of Todd, and a bear comes along and blah blah blah. Copper's owner points a gun at Todd, and he's about to shoot him, and then Copper just gets in the way, and he just looks at his owner and he just kind of shakes his head, and he's like, "Move out the way, Copper," and he's just like, "No." And Todd, the fox, just looks at Copper, and they're kind of like, "That's the end now," but, you know, we're still good. And it's just gut-wrenching.
Films with animals always are.
They are. I could have picked all my films, would have been probably ones with animals, and I'm not a massive animal person, but
no, animal films are a killer. Yeah, you literally could do how many films on animals?
Yeah,
I am an animal lover, so, but like you said, I don't think you necessarily have to be one.
Not to appreciate.
Yeah,
because this isn't necessarily about animals. It's kind of about a bromance.
Yeah,
that can't be.
Yeah, because
of circumstance, and it's a bit like Bridges of Madison County. They make sacrifice. They have to make sacrifices to let life sort of just go on, because they know they can't be together as mates.
As mates.
And it's ever so sad. And it's also another Kurt Russell film, and I'm noticing a theme with me that I like him.
I do like Kurt Russell.
So yeah, that was. I got through that. I thought I'd cry through that one, but yeah.
My next one, I'm a bit worried about.
Oh yeah, hit me.
It might be probably a strange one that people might think that I've picked this, but it's a sci-fi that was released in 2009 by Neil Blomkamp, and he directed Chappie and Asylum, and it's District 9.
And arguably the best out of those 3 films.
I did enjoy Chappie, but basically the main guy in it is called Sholto Copley.
He's such a dude.
He plays, you might know him as Murdoch. He was Murdoch in the 80s.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah, no, he's really good in this. And before I go any further, I just have to say 3 words. You fucking prawn. But yeah, so basically it starts off shot in like documentary style, where it's basically these aliens. Go on. No,
I forgot what we were doing then, and I went to stop you and go, yeah, I know, I've seen it.
But we're doing a podcast, so I have to talk about it. Yeah, so basically it's about these aliens that landed on in Johannesburg. So they've got this spaceship basically hovering over, and they were all dying, and basically they're now living on Earth in like these like shanty town type things, which actually do exist. And the reason basically that they're in the shanty town, but they want to evict them because obviously everyone's going nuts that they're there.
Yeah.
And they call them prawns because they resemble prawns. Yeah. But they're being treated. The reason I find this film so sad is because they're basically being treated the way people treat, you know, refugees today, because they're basically refugees.
Yeah.
And that's why I find it so sad. And Blomkamp was saying basically that when they filmed it like in Johannesburg, and it was actually quite because he wanted to be authentic, and it was quite a dangerous place to film. He says like the environment wasn't really that nice. He says while there was beautiful spots, you know, there was times where it was kind of like scary, and I think one of the people working on it did get you know,
really?
carjacked. Yeah. So yeah, so basically they've got these people down in these concentration camps, for use of a better word, and they're moving them.
Yeah.
So basically they're going to evict them, and this is how it starts. And Vicus goes in. Wickus, I thought it was Vicus they were saying, but it's Wickus goes in, and he's basically telling them all to go. And you know, he's not, there's quite aggressive tones to it, but it's not, at the moment it's not too bad. But there's of course the military's there, and there's always a few that are a bit heavy-handed. And there's also this like little kid prawn.
Oh yeah,
who's just so adorable. But yeah, so they're trying to move them, but as he's doing it, he gets sprayed with this stuff, and this stuff then eventually is turning him into one of them. And like this is one scene that I find it really upsetting. Is they take him. He goes to hospital because he doesn't know what's happening. He's got his arm bandaged. They undo it, and he's got one of the claws. Yeah. So they take him down to like this military place, and they're trying to get him to pull a gun, and then they get him, and they get him to shoot a prawn. And his wife's dad's there the whole time, and he basically tells her that he's dead because they want to kill him. But when they're talking about killing him, it's like they have no regard for him whatsoever.
No.
You've got this in you now. We need this. I mean, they're talking about him, what they're going to do to him while he's lying there. And it's just so, and that's one of the things that got me like mad with it. It was like, you know, the government doing whatever they want. I need this, so I'm going to do it. Yeah. Simple as, and it doesn't matter, you know, what collateral damage there is along the way. So that got to me. The whole concentration camp, the whole way that the refugees are treated, the way we do. You're not from here, so you shouldn't be in our fucking country. I mean, whenever I hear that, it makes me literally want to punch someone in the face. Mm-hmm. We are people of Earth. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not one of these hippy dippy type people. You know I'm not. But when you turn around and say to someone who's been fucking blown out of a country, you shouldn't be here. Fuck off.
Yeah.
It just pisses me off. But so and I know these are actual aliens, so I can understand fear, but it's not about that. No. It's about you shouldn't be here. So as basically Wickus escapes, and with the help of one of the prawns, you know, basically this guy's saying, I can change you back. So it's basically it goes with he's being hunted down, and he's basically trying to get this one prawn who said he could cure him to cure him. But this prawn needs to get up into, called Christopher, needs to get up into the mother spaceship, but it's going to take 3 years. So it's basically the whole trip of trying to get him up here, which he does with a lot of stuff going in between. And there's also this group in there, they're these Nigerians, and they're bad. Yeah. They're really evil as shit. Like they're like, you know, because they sell stuff to the prawns for stupid prices, like cat food. They're obsessed with cat food. It's this weird thing with cat food. But and the film is very, like, as he's changing, it's very The Fly, you know, Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, like that whole change when he's going through. So you can see
I've never actually seen that.
Yeah, you can see a lot of influences from that,
like a Cronenberg vibe.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's this RoboCop basically in there that Wickus gets into. He gets into the thing that looks like a RoboCop, and so that's really quite funny. And the power in these guns and stuff that the things have is insane. Like if he shoots you blow up. You don't just get shot, you blow up. It's quite funny when he does it to the bad people. I'm not going to cry over that. So it's just basically for me. I when I watched it, I wish I hadn't picked it and watched it
because of the social commentary.
Yeah, it was just too like a bit close to home, I think, about, and I think this was one of those films, like when we were saying in The Green Mile about all the ugliness in the world, I think this was one of the films that's kind of brings it, you know, but home. Yeah, it brings it home. And then it basically, he's now turned into a full prawn. It ends like this because there's a shot of him, and then they're like, this is the last known shot of Wickus. And then the next thing is the wife finds this little flower made from like stuff in a junkyard. Yeah. And then it cuts to him making them. Do you know what I mean? And he's full prawn. So yeah, it's
Sad.
It's a really good film though, but I won't ever watch it again.
It's a fantastic film, but I didn't have. I mean,
yeah, but I didn't so much. I've seen it a few times, and I didn't really the first time I seen it.
Yeah, I've only seen it once.
Yeah, no, I've seen it a few times. I'd seen it twice, and I remember one of the reasons I picked it was because I found it sad with what they were doing to him and the whole thing with his wife and the flower at the end and all that kind of stuff. They were the things I found sad, and that's why I picked it. I completely almost forgot about I didn't think of it as that back then, as the whole refugee thing.
Yeah.
And then when I watched it and I was seeing the way that they were treating these people and the way they were abusive and hitting them and just treating them how they wanted, and that's what made me wish I'd never seen it. So I won't ever watch this film again.
Okay.
No, I will never watch it again, because it's just
an ugly side of human nature.
Yeah, that's very apparent today, that people still carry on. People are so cruel. But my next film's not like that. Well, it's a little bit. No, it's not.
Shall I do my
Your
last one?
Your last one. Should be,
Yeah. Okay. Another late 90s film, 1998.
What about the 90s?
I know. By Brad Silberling.
Silberling. Where's the wine?
This is City of Angels.
Oh, that was when Nicolas Cage was good.
Yeah. Hey, he's good in Kick-Ass. I think that was his last good film. Anyway, so this is a romantic fantasy film, which is apparently an American remake of a film called Wings of Desire, which is a European film.
Was that film the one that Irish Goo Goo Dolls was?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the song played at my brother's wedding.
Oh.
So this is about an angel played by Nicolas Cage, and he falls in love with a mortal woman played by Meg Ryan, and throughout the film he battles with a growing love and desire for her, and with the guidance of a character played by Dennis Franz from NYPD Blue.
Is that how they say it? NYPD. Well, they do actually, don't they?
God, I love that TV series. It's so good. Anyway, with the guidance of his character, he decides to take the fall and become human. Because, sorry, I should tell you that that guy played by Dennis Franz, he did that himself. And he's funny. He's light relief in this film. He's a good character. And I think, there are a few reasons why this film is a very emotive kind of film. One being the soundtrack. Killer soundtrack.
Good soundtrack.
An amazing score, especially when he makes the fall. Jesus Christ. And also their performances. And I never used to, Meg Ryan's great at comedy, but this film is a serious film. And I don't know much of her sort of serious stuff, I have to say.
No, I think it was that film that she did with the Hulk. What's his name?
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. I had Mark back in that. Yeah, she was in a film with him, and it was quite something about cut.
Oh yeah, In the Cut or something. I've not seen
and
that.
it was
raunchy.
Quite raunchy for Miss Meg Ryan.
I've seen that film When a Man Loves a Woman. That's
with Andy Garcia.
That's sad.
Yeah.
But she. You forget that she can do serious.
Yeah. She was always the cutie comedy romantic interest next door.
Yeah. But in this, she plays this this very down to earth surgeon, and in the film, angels are kind of these dudes, these people that sort of hang around in black clothes, and they hang around in places of learning and sort of intuition and those kind of places, so like hospitals and libraries and stuff. And Seth, that's Nicolas Cage's character, they hear people's thoughts, and she loses a patient on the table, and she looks all cold and like she doesn't care, and then she goes off to the stairwell and she's crying her eyes out, and she's like, how did I lose him, and he's just there and he's trying to ease her, because that's what they do, they kind of ease people's pain. And then she looks him right in the eye, and she's not meant to see him, and that's how their connection starts. But she plays this earthiness. It's really well that she plays like a complete contradiction to him, because he's kind of spiritual kind of like soft character, and she's like a gritty kind of earthy character, and their sort of contradictions are played really well. And I don't know if you think this, but when Nicolas Cage does a sad face, it's a sad face. So yeah, and I haven't even got to the worst part of this film. Have you seen this film?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a massive spoiler because it's a really, really big spoiler. But he makes the fall. He decides to become human. He wants to be with her and she wants to be with him. So he makes this sacrifice and he becomes corporeal and he can feel pain and everything. And he wants to feel love. And so he goes through a lot after he's done the fall. He's battered and bruised, and he eventually finds her at this cabin, and she's like, "Holy shit, you're real." Those aren't her words. And they make love, and they are content. They're so happy. You're like, yes, they're together. And then she goes to go and get him breakfast or something, and then you know shit's gonna happen. And she gets hit by a logging truck. And when she's out on her bike and she's in the road and he runs after her and she's like, "Is this what dying's like?" And or something like that. And he's just like, "Oh God." And then she sees angels. You don't see her seeing angels because he's human now. You don't, you know. And he's like, "Don't look at them, don't look at them," because he doesn't want her to go. She dies. And so it was all kind of like, you think it's all for nothing. Yeah. And it's just, it destroys you. But then at the end, he sees another angel friend, and he's just like, "Am I being punished because I took the fall?" And he's like, "You know, you're not." And he realizes in the end that it's you know, it's not about all that he's experienced. It's about I'm trying to articulate this, but it's just kind of about the experience. It's not about the end result, which was he thought was just love. He got to experience it, and now life is about the good he can feel now. So at the end, because all the angels congregate in the morning to see the sunrise at the beach, and they just stand on the sand. They can't feel texture, you know. They can't actually feel the wind on their face, and he just goes diving into the sea with the waves, and he feels like he can keep going, and it's that's a good film. Yeah, it's a really good take on that kind of. It's not about religion; it's kind of about faith. Yeah, which we were sort of talking about earlier. And it's just gets you thinking.
I find with films like that, I know this is going to sound really silly, but you know when you watch that, or you watch film like Titanic or stuff like that, and you know exactly how that film's going to end. But when you're watching it again, do you ever do that? Maybe this time it won't end like that. Yeah. Like I do that all the time. It's like when I watch my crime documentaries, I know that person's dead, but I'm hoping by the end, she's not actually dead this time. Yeah. You know, it's really weird. I find myself watching sometimes these sad films thinking the end's going to be different this time.
It's almost like the same feeling when you're watching a horror movie. You know the jump scene's going to come, but you're like, you know, and you're bracing yourself for it. Why do you do it to yourself? I know. I think that's the thing with these kind of films. It was what we were saying earlier. It's not about, you know, a masochistic kind of trying to make yourself cry. No. It's about going through something and coming out on the end of it and being like, oh, got that out of my system, but I've learned a lot from it in a really cheesy way.
Well, it's like what I said about District 9. I watched it a few times, and the time I watched it yesterday, I saw it in a completely different light. You know, it's like you said, you were talking about even Friends. You were like, now when I see it, I didn't see that. I think you just see things differently.
Yeah, the rewatch is always worth the rewatch.
No,
you do learn things each time.
You do learn things each time.
Yeah, but then sometimes you don't want to.
Yeah, like I wish I hadn't watched District 9 again.
Is that the film that you were like sobbing at the other day then when you were like, sent me the picture?
No, that was, I think that was the Bridges of Madison County.
Just to explain to you guys, throughout the week we've been sending texts going, I just put myself through something else. I'm sending pictures of various stages of us crying.
God, I know. I don't think at any stage. No, I did. I went into the ugly cry.
Did you?
Yeah, with my next film.
Okay, go on then.
My next film is a bit of nostalgia, and it was the very first film I remember crying at, and I haven't watched it in years. I mean, years and years and years and years. So I thought, will I cry? Yes, I did. So it's a film back from 1982, Spielberg, and it's with our ever lovable little extraterrestrial E.T. And you know, I've spoken to a few people about this film, and they were like, "Yeah, I cry." I think a friend of mine, Michelle, she said, "Yeah, I was taken out of the cinema." because I cried so much. So this is a film that stars a very, very, very young Drew Barrymore. I think she's like 6 or something in it, isn't she? Or 8 or something. Henry Thomas, Peter Coyote. So it's basically a drama, fantasy, sci-fi. And it followed on from some big films of Spielberg's, which is Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So basically this film is 36 years old now, and it's still, you know, it still gets there, like, do you know what I mean? And you know, I think it's had an impact on, you know, new upcoming people. Like me and you discussed Stranger Things in episode 3.
Yeah.
And you know, if you watch ET and watch Stranger Things, you're going to see a huge impact there. And you know, I think this is a film that, you know, I'll eventually show my child one day. You know, I think this is a film that they keep on going on, like The Wizard of Oz, which is
it's timeless.
Yeah, it's timeless. Yeah, you're just grow old with it. So for those of you who haven't seen ET, firstly, go watch it. It's amazing. It's basically about a little boy called Elliot who befriends a little alien who's been left behind by his buddies, who is called ET. And this, as he's getting this, his relationship grows with the alien. He starts to feel things that he feels. So they basically feel the same thing. And he introduces him then to his brother and sister. And there's a lot of funny things out of that, like especially when Gertie, played by Drew Barrymore, dresses him up as a little girl. Yeah. And she teaches him to talk and, you know, all these kind of things. So, you know, it's a really nice film in that respect. Like, do you know what I mean? But then, actually, I have to say there's one scene. There's this one scene where Elliot's at school and they're about to do these scientific experiments on the frogs. And E.T.'s at home and he starts drinking alcohol and he gets pissed. And then Elliot gets pissed and he frees all the frogs and then kisses this girl who was in Baywatch, by the way. Yeah. So that I thought was kind of funny. And whenever E.T.'s running around, it always reminds me, if you've got a toddler, watch E.T. running around drunk and then look at your toddler and you will see exactly the same run. It's really funny. It always reminds me of that. I said, I was going to dress Riley up maybe this year as E.T. drunk.
You should.
And then, of course, the old government gets in the way and wants E.T. for themselves. And so basically they get him because they, you know, obviously want to look into what he's all about. And he's dying. And then, of course, so Elliot's dying because he feels the same thing. And they think he's dead. But Elliot they kind of separate. And then they think E.T. is dead. But it turns out he's not. So Elliot and his brother and their friends take E.T. back to the forest, so that because they've called his friends to come and get him, and that's where you get that iconic shot. You know, no, before that you've got the iconic shot. Do you remember when I should have mentioned that before of when Elliot's with E.T. on his own? Remember they go out to the forest for the first time? They go over the moon, and that's the thing on Amblin, isn't it? Steven Spielberg's company. But yeah, so him and his friends are on the bike and they do that again where E.T. lifts him up into the air to get away from the government. And there's this really funny bit with Gertie, Drew Barrymore. She's like, are they gone yet? To the mum. She's like, well, what do you mean? She goes, I'm not supposed to give this to you until they're gone. Are they gone yet? So like, you know, and she's like, give me the note. So basically it's saying what they've done. And then she's in the car and the mum and the dog are trying to go off. And one of the government guys comes down, Peter Coyote. And she's like, where are you going? And Gertie again, we're going to see the man in the moon. You know, like this type of thing. Like, you know, we're going to the spaceship and all this kind of stuff. Like, do you know what I mean?
Bit. I think that bit's quite...
Yeah.
When she's like, and she's just shouting at the mum's all distressed. It's horrible.
Yeah. So yeah, in the bathroom, it's the man in the moon. In the car, it's the spaceship thing. And so she keeps on like landing them in it. Not on purpose, but she's a child. She doesn't understand. Like, so basically they get back and they get to the spaceship and then that whole scene. So the scene where he's dying, you're going to cry. And then that whole scene where he's saying goodbye. I'll be right here. And then the finger, ouch, you know, this type of thing. And yeah, that is definitely.
Do you know?
One.
It is, yeah. It's.
Did you not cry at E.T.?
No. But no, I mean, I'll just explain. As a kid.
Or explain myself.
As a kid, I think I like when my brother and sister, who are like 6 and 7 years older than me, and my parents are watching it. I was fucking gutted. I didn't know what a clue was going on throughout watching this film, and then I just watched it in bits, so it just didn't piece together for me.
Oh, right, okay.
And then as an adult, it's very, I can see it now, but it took me a long time to just sort of want to watch it. And then when I did, yes, it is.
Yeah, I would have only been a kid. I would have only been about 8. I would have been 8 when that came out. But yeah, no, I actually enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah,
and it's still kind of, I mean, the flying through the sky scenes, you can tell. I mean, obviously, people don't fly through the skies on bikes, but nowadays it would be a lot clearer and sharper where you can tell. But it still has that, when you, like, I watched the bonus material afterwards, and Spielberg was saying how, he's gone back and kind of, like, he did, I think, a 20 or 25 year re-release. And, he did some touches here and there that he couldn't do back then because he wanted to make it, but I don't know, I just thought it still stood, and I think it will stand again in 20 years, like when, people are still watching it. But yeah, no, I just think it's a really nice film.
It is a nice film, definitely.
And very sad.
Has a nice message, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. What is that message? But, but it is.
Be nice to aliens. No.
Yeah. Because the kid's kind of lost faith a bit, hasn't he, at the beginning? Because didn't his dad leave?
Their dad's, he's got he's gone off with somebody else and stuff. And the mother, the mother notices nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? She's so chaotic and, because she's trying to do everything and, she's like upset the guy's, her husband's gone, obviously. And like, E.T.'s literally standing there and she doesn't notice him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like...
But he just kind of makes the kids, especially Elliot, just realise,
And he brings the kids together because there's kind of like, they kind of have this like, which I suppose a lot of siblings have, like this bickering going on. And, but he kind of brings them all, together as well, I think. So, yeah, I just think it's a really nice, lovely family film. And I'd highly recommend it.
It's good.
And you will cry.
We got through it.
I know.
What, Lorraine?
What film are we going to do today in the Flashback Film Club?
Well, this is Emmett Smith's suggestion.
Emmett Smith?
That's
That'd
right.
be my brother, that be.
Are we doing Southwest now?
I don't know. I don't know.
And Emmett has asked us to watch The Burbs.
I love that film. It's such a good film. It's a 1989 film, so it's quite old, by Joe Dante. He directed films such as Gremlins, Inner Space.
I fucking love Inner Space.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the swearing, but Inner Space today.
I think there's a bit of swearing in this podcast in general, so we apologise if anyone's offended by swearing.
I think they should know that of us by now.
Absolutely. It's a comedy horror. I suppose that's the best way you can describe it. And it stars Tom Hanks, the late Carrie Fisher, Corey Feldman, for anyone who doesn't...
His hair in this film is amazing, by the way.
I know. Sorry. It's very luscious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what does he use? Yeah. Rick Ducommun and Bruce Dern. Well, do you want to describe what it is, or do you want me to?
No, you go for it.
Yeah, it basically takes place in this little cul-de-sac. And Hanks... Yeah?
In California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say Burbank, but I don't know why I want to say that, so I might be completely wrong.
Is that why it's called
Burbs is suburbs.
I know.
Idiot.
I thought it might be a double, play on words.
Yeah, so basically...
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. Tom Hanks plays this guy, is it Ray Peterson, his name? Yeah. And he's basically got some time off work. And his wife goes off... But it was Carrie Fisher. She goes off with the kid, and Tom Hanks, Rick Ducommun, and Bruce Dern basically start this quest in proving that their neighbours, the Klopeks, have just moved in, are in fact murderers and have killed another neighbour called Walter. And it's basically like this crazy little street. And I think one of the reasons... Like, I've always found it funny, but I find it even funnier now. It's because I kind of used to live in a street like this where the neighbours were a bit crazy and shit always happened. And sometimes it was just an interesting street to watch Nobody got killed, but it was just an interesting street to watch. And so I kind of like that, because like Corey Feldman he just watches what goes on. His friends come over, they open some beers, they put on some music, and they just sit on the deck on the porch and watch the street.
I as a kid definitely used to think there was like creepy shenanigans going on, because outside my parents' house, across the road is another house, but it was completely hedged off. You could only see the roof, and then through the trees at the bottom you could see a bit of the garden, and I was always just used to like stick my head
something bad happened.
And his name was Fred and he was lovely. But my imagination took me places. Oh yes, it did.
I've done that before.
But these are grown men in this film, so they've got no excuse.
But that's the funny thing. They're like grown men, but the way they're carrying on, it's like just so funny.
When they're in the basement and Tom Hanks starts chanting, "I'm not listening," or something like that, and he's like, "You're chanting, yes, you're chanting. They're getting in your head, like they're Satanists." And I was just like, "Dude, just get this guy out of your life, and you'll be fine."
It's just a really funny film of them trying to figure out what's happened to their neighbour, basically, who they think has been murdered by the Klopeks.
Again, watching it from a fresh perspective, having never really seen it before, having watched it for this segment, I felt really weird to see Tom Hanks in a film like that.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why. I just felt a bit odd. Like, he plays the humour well, obviously, but at the same time, it kind of felt, I don't know.
Well, I know what you mean, because like I was, thinking about myself, and I feel like this is a film by Hanks that's overlooked. Like, I don't think many people seem to know this as a Tom Hanks film. And I actually watched, looked at some reviews, and there was a lot of bad reviews,
Yeah.
Which I think is unwarranted, because I think I've seen this film so many times, and my brother has as well, and that's why he said it. And there's a very it's very slapstick. Do you know what I mean? Like the relationship between Hanks and Ducommun is like, it's like Laura and Harley, the way they carry on. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the stuff they get up to, and
yeah, I did notice that. It was an interesting one. I'm not sure. I think I feel a bit sad actually that I've watched it not as a kid, because I think it would probably be like a family nostalgic film, but I don't have that because I'm watching it as an adult and not in that era. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. So a bit sad in that sense, but it was entertaining. Yeah, no, it's definitely entertaining, and I'd recommend it to watch. It's just a funny film, like, I think sometimes people expect too much from films, and this is a film that just is what it is. Yeah. Rather than expecting, It did make me laugh. There's this use of camera work where they're going, and the camera zooming in and out as they're going, and I was like, is this for real? Yeah. But it's meant to be kind of pissed off. Yeah, they're like, Yeah. 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 I love this film. Good film. Yeah, he does do exaggeration well. Oh, does but it? But believable. Yeah. It's if I did it, you'd be like, all right, calm down. Yeah. But when he does it, you're like, yeah, that's right, Tom, you tell him. Yeah. So yeah, no, he does it really well. A lot of Tom Hanks love in this episode. There is a lot of Tom Hanks love. Tom and Meryl. I do love Tom though. And that was the Flashback Film Club. Yeah. So let us know any films that you want us to shout out to you in our next Flashback Film Club. What films and TV would you like to see next, Harry? Stuff that I'm looking forward to is season 4 of iZombie coming out. Oh yeah, end of the month. I think that's like February 26th, 27th. 27th. Oh, I can't wait for that. No, not me. Yeah, it's a great series. And on Instagram, they bloody like the guy who plays Javi. Oh, he's so like, funny. Yeah, but he's like Ravi. He's like taunting us. I feel like every time I see him, like, just tell us something. Him and Malcolm J. Goodwin, is it? Yeah. Those two on Instagram are hilarious. Yeah, the cop, love them both. To be fair, you need to watch this series. It's iZombie and it's about zombies and stuff, but it's a really good comedy show. So and you can binge watch it on Netflix. Yeah. So you can catch up. Go do that now. Yeah, do it now. Well, wait till the end of the podcast, then go do it. Another one is season 2 of Legion. That messed with my melon massively. Is that you twisted my melon, man? Yeah, Happy Monday song. This has Dan Stevens in, and he plays the superhero Marvel character of Legion, but he is like I think he's schizophrenic.
Well, what else was he in? I know that name.
He's in quite a lot of stuff at the moment, but he was in Downton Abbey.
I didn't watch that.
And he's he's a British actor.
He's not the guy who plays the Beast, is he?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay.
It's by one of the creators of Fargo, and it's just mind-bending. It's so good. I highly recommend it. It takes a few episodes to get into it, but then once you're
Is it on Netflix?
No, it was on Sky.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about in the rest of the world.
Okay.
But and I'm also looking forward to 2 films, and that's Journey's End, about the First World War, which is based on a very famous play, and then a film called The Mercy with Colin Firth about a guy who kind of goes a bit. It's based on a true story about this man who went on a round the world yacht race and went a bit crazy.
You would.
Hmm?
You would.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
I'm looking forward to Deadpool 2.
Oh my
Ryan
God,
Reynolds,
that's going to be really good.
and Josh Brolin as Cable. I love Josh Brolin. He's like, it's like he's because you didn't really hear from him for a while, and now he's like coming back in all these amazing films. So
He's got a sexy voice.
Oh God, yeah, and he's pretty pleasing as well. And I loved the first Deadpool.
Yes, I did.
I wanna shoot, baby. I love that bit.
I just love it when he's like, we're going to Xavier's house. Which Xavier? Stewart or McAvoy? So good.
Brilliant film. My other film is it's an Oscar nominated one actually. The Shape of Water. That I can't pronounce his name. What is it?
Guillermo
del Toro. Yeah, him. Which is basically about a top secret research facility in the 1960s where a janitor forms this like unique relationship with a amphibious creature which is being held in captivity. So you know me, I love a good alien, and I do actually. I love alien films. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to those 2.
Yeah, that looks really
and
good.
iZombie.
And I think that's a wrap on that episode.
So feel free to join us for some thoughtful film chat by emailing us at showmethepodcast@gmail.com, or to keep an eye out for what we have in future podcasts, then check out our Facebook page and our Instagram feed at Show Me the Podcast. And I said you can also follow us on Twitter at SMTPcast. Yeah, and you can also see mine and Harry's individual projects such as blogs, videos, and more things. I'm basically on WordPress and Pinterest as Winging It, the Truth About Parenting. I do a parenting blog. And Twitter as Lorraine Smith 74 and Instagram as Lorraine Smith 74, and they're both with a Y. And Harry?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram as Tales of Peck. I write sort of travel-esque blogs, and I try and make some travel-esque kind of vlogs with content that me and my partner in crime, Alec, have created on our travels.
Yeah, so you've been listening to Show Me the Podcast, and thanks for listening.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Like a creme brulee.